Discover the incredible, heartwarming love story that changed 1,000 lives forever. Jake Thompson stood in front of Thompson's bakery, its worn wooden sign creaking like an old friend. Memories flooded back. He could almost smell the fresh bread baking, the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls wafting through the air. This was more than just a bakery, it was a lifeline for the Maplewood community. Generations had gathered here, sharing laughter and love over pastries and coffee. But now, the once bustling shop lay dulled by neglect and financial strain, just as Jake felt the weight of his father's dreams pressing down on him. His father, a World War II veteran, had started this beloved bakery with grit and determination. Every loaf carried the legacy of a man who had fought for his country and returned home to serve his community. Jake's heart beat in sync with those dreams, but as he faced mounting bills and a wealthy developer's looming threat to replace the bakery with a trendy cafe, hope slipped through his fingers, like sand in an hourglass. As he considered the stakes, Jake found strength in the memories, the laughter of his kids, the twinkle in his father's eye as he rolled out dough. "I can't let this place go," he whispered to himself, determination bubbling inside him. But then, a devastating storm swept through town, tearing at the bakery's roof and demolishing its spirit. The winds roared, and Jake felt the storm scratching at his heart, sending ripples of doubt through his soul. Before he knew it, the community of Maplewood was left scrambling. Families were without meals, kids missed their after-school treats, and the sense of togetherness quickly transformed into chaos. Jake found himself rallying the townsfolk, creating a plan to reopen the bakery and feed those in need. Plentiful flour and sugar were shipped from neighboring farms, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the bakery began to feel alive once more, but shadows loomed over Jake's mission. His estranged brother, Mark, who saw the bakery as a burden dragging them into the past, confronted him. "Why hang on to the old ways? It's foolish, Jake." He spat, igniting a rift that felt deeper than the storm's damage. Here lay Jake's heartache, mingling with anger, as he questioned if it was worth fighting for something so rooted in nostalgia. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue. Just as he started to gather support, betrayal from a trusted friend struck like a lightning bolt, throwing his plans into chaos and threatening to unravel the fragile threads of community he sought to weave. Confusion gripped his heart, but the love for his family and his town propelled him forward. With every step, Jake felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, a battle shaping not just his career, but the very essence of who he was. As the grand reopening of Thompson's bakery loomed closer, anticipation filled the air. Friends and families promised to stand alongside him. Jake clenched his fists, ready to fight for his dreams, yet doubt lingered like a shadow. Just as the bakery doors prepared to swing open, a shocking revelation disrupted the ground beneath him. Would he reclaim not just his dream but also mend the rift with Mark? Or would he, like the bakery's battered walls, crumble under the weight of uncertainty? Jake stood at the entrance of Thompson's bakery, a whirlwind of hope and dread swirling inside him. The ribbon he'd bought for the reopening ceremony lay in his pocket, untouched, a tangible reminder of both the dreams he cherished and the doubts gnawing at his heart. Today wasn't just about pastries, it was about proving something to himself, to Mark, and to the community that looked to him for leadership. As he pushed open the heavy door, the scent of freshly baked bread enveloped him like an old, comforting embrace. He breathed deep, trying to draw strength from the memories, the laughter of children enjoying cookies, the friendly banter of patrons over steaming mugs of coffee. The bakery needed to shine again. It needed to be the heart of Maplewood once more. As he approached the kitchen, the warmth radiated from the ovens, and Jake's heart skipped at the sight of his friends hustling and bustling across the room. Flour dust filled the air, a gentle reminder of home. We're ready when you are, Jake, said Sarah, a longtime customer turned friend, her smile brightening the room. Let us show them what we can do, he replied, rallying the small group around him. They moved in harmony, chefs and bakers creating magic with dough, sugar, and butter. If only it could always feel this right, but doubt crested again when Mark stepped through the open door, arms crossed, brows furrowed. His presence brought an uneasy tension, the kind that silenced the atmosphere. You really think this will change anything? He asked, his voice strained. People don't care about this old place anymore. I can't believe you'd say that, Jake shot back, fists tightening. This bakery is part of who we are. It's not just about bread, it's about our family, our history. History won't pay the bills, Mark countered, shaking his head in frustration. It's time to move on, to embrace the future. Jake opened his mouth, but the words caught in his throat. It felt too personal, too raw. And leave the community to starve? Is that what you call embracing the future? Mark flinched, his defiance shaking for just a heartbeat. I thought you understood. It's not just about us anymore. In that moment, Jake realized that he had to fight not just for the bakery, but for his brother too. The hurt between them had grown like a chasm, and perhaps today could be the day to bridge it. Let us work together. We can showcase what Thompson's bakery means, share our story, our love for Maplewood. Maybe even Mark also seemed to pause, conflict flickering in his eyes. Maybe what? He pressed, voice softening. Maybe we can change together. It doesn't have to be just nostalgia versus progress. Let South reinvigorate this place, not only for ourselves but for everyone who loves it too, including the people you care about. Looking around the bakery, the warmth and determination thickened the air. The team behind him was ready to show the world that even in the face of uncertainty, love and community could strengthen the bonds that held them together. But before they could delve deeper, a loud crash jarred their focus. A group of townsfolk stood at the door, eyes wide with shock. They had heard about the reopening. The whispers spread faster than anticipated, but the true undisputed news was yet to unfold. What is going on? An elderly woman called from the front, uncertainty hanging in her voice. Jake's heart raced. This was at the moment he either chose to face the truth of his dreams or turn back in fear. Steeling himself, he stepped forward. Thompson's bakery is back, and we need you, all of you, to help us reclaim its place in our hearts and the community. Will you join us? As the crowd shifted closer, hope mingled with uncertainty. Would they embrace this idea? Or would the fear of loss drive them away? Jake's heart was pounding in the painful silence, waiting for someone to step up. Just then, the looming threat from the developer appeared at the edge of the crowd, his smirk unmistakable. Jake's stomach twisted. What would they do if the worst was true? Would he be strong enough to fight back? The battle felt imminent, and it was one he couldn't fight alone. As the crowd reacted, whispers intensifying around him, Jake took a deep breath, realizing the answer to one question was just beginning to unfold. Would the community rally together, or would they let fear take control? Jake could hear the tension ripple through the crowd, like a low hum of electricity. He searched for familiar faces, hoping to see warmth and encouragement, but instead found frowns and furrowed brows. The developer stepped forward, pushing his way through the gathered townsfolk, his grin arrogant. You think you can just reopen an old bakery and everything will be fine? He scoffed. The world is moving on. People want convenience, not nostalgia. His shadow loomed over Jake like a storm cloud ready to unleash. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Jake felt his throat tighten, words struggling for breath. But he couldn't back down now. It's not just about pastries, he said, his voice growing steadier with each word. It's about the community we've built here. This bakery isn't just a building, it's a gathering place. It holds our memories, our stories. A young mother stepped forward, holding her child tightly. My kids have grown up with your cookies. We need this place. It's part of our family's traditions. Her plea broke through the air, sparking murmurs of agreement. Yeah. I still remember your pumpkin spice lattes, shouted another man from the back, his voice rising above the others. This place gave us a reason to gather, to connect. We can't let it go. As the crowd began nodding and vocalizing their support, Jake felt a swell of hope. Could this actually work? Mark stood frozen, uncertainty etched across his features. He looked at Jake, vulnerability flickering in his eyes. It was as if the chasm between them was beginning to close. Jake took a cautious step closer, ignoring the developer's skeptical smirk. Help us reclaim this space, Jake urged. Let us combine the old with the new. We can start classes, host events, introduce the next generation to what we love. Together, we can make this bakery thrive. The crowd murmured again, this time with budding excitement. They exchanged looks, some even smiling. Jake could see the glimmer of potential in their eyes. Mark finally spoke, his voice low but resonating. He's right. We can't let this be the end. We have everything we need to turn this around. Cheers erupted, echoing through the bakery. Yes. Someone shouted. Let us bring back Thompson S. It was a wave of solidarity, washing over them, pulling them together as a family once more, but just as optimism filled the room, the developer rolled his eyes. You really think this is enough? I'll give you 2 weeks. 2 weeks to prove this isn't just a nostalgic dream. Jake felt his heart drop but quickly masked it with determination. We'll make it work, he declared, glancing at Mark, who nodded slowly, accepting the challenge. The air crackled with renewed energy, a beat of resolve pulsing through the group. Jake could feel the collective heartbeat of Maplewood, stronger than ever. Together, they had a chance to fight back. As they began voicing their ideas, new recipes, community gatherings, a children's piano night, hope blossomed like the first flowers of spring. Jake's heart soared, he wasn't alone in this. But just as they began to celebrate, a loud clang echoed from the back of the bakery. A delivery truck had just rolled to a stop outside, its loud engine roaring. The side door flung open, revealing more than just packages. Only one person jumped out, an unexpected face from Jake's past, someone he never anticipated seeing again. The moment hung in the air, charged with unanswered questions and hidden stories. Who was this person, and what did they want? Jake's heart raced with a mixture of anxiety and curiosity. The stakes had suddenly risen, and he realized that the battle wasn't over yet, it was just beginning. The crowd began to part as the figure approached. Jake's breath hitched in his throat. After all these years, there stood Sophie. Her hair was back to that vibrant red he remembered, cascading in waves over her shoulders. The brightness of her eyes cut through the tension like sunlight piercing through storm clouds. What are you doing here? Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The warmth of the reunion battled with the anxiety of uncertainty, memories flooding back, both sweet and painful. Sophie took a deep breath, glancing around at the familiar faces, at the bakery that had been a second home for so many. I heard about the bakery reopening and I wanted to help, she said, her voice a calm anchor in the storm of emotions swirling within him. The developer snorted, crossing his arms. And what can you do? You walked away from this place. You don't know what you're talking about, Sophie shot back, her gaze steady. This bakery means everything to me too. It's where we formed connections and created memories. I want to bring people together again. Jake felt a surge of hope. Could Sophie really be here to help? But how? We only have 2 weeks, he reminded her, the weight of their challenge pressing down. I've been working with community projects in the city for years, she replied, her confidence shining through the flicker of doubt. We could organize events that create that same sense of belonging. I can help get the word out, bring in local artists, musicians, whatever it takes. The crowd stirred, glancing between Jake and Sophie, weighing her words like fragile glass. Jake can't help but notice their expressions transform from skepticism to budding anticipation. Mark took a step forward, eyes filled with reflection. She's right, Jake. We need to showcase what this bakery represents. We shouldn't just sell pastries. We should sell the community's heart, its stories. I'll take charge of the marketing. Spread the word, get people interested again, Sophie said, her enthusiastic spirit igniting something within Jake. He could almost see the gears of the bakery's revival turning. The developer scoffed again, but this time his voice faltered. You all really think you can pull this off? We'll show you, Jake replied, newfound resolve surging through him. He looked toward his friends and neighbors, each face now etched with determination. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Jake's mind, its brightness pushing through shadows of doubt. What if we host a launch event? He proposed, excitement spilling from him. A back to Thompson's celebration? We can invite everyone in Maplewood, share stories, reintroduce the recipes everyone loves. Sophie's eyes lit up. That's perfect. And we could include activities for kids. A bake-off, live music, maybe even a memory wall where people can pin their stories about the bakery. The crowd erupted again in applause at their infectious enthusiasm. Jake felt like he was floating, relief washing over him. They weren't just a community, they were a family, united by love and shared history. In the midst of their excitement, a flicker of doubt crept back into Jake's mind. What if it wasn't enough? What if the developer didn't budge? As if sensing his turmoil, Sophie looked him straight in the eye. This is our chance. We're stronger together, and we'll find a way to make this work. Her words wrapped around him like a warm embrace. Just then, the developer swept in, eyes narrowed. Fine, 2 weeks it is. But don't expect miracles. Jake swallowed hard, the reality crushing in again. 2 weeks? Their comeback had to hold enough significance to spark real change, but beneath the uncertainty, the flames of hope roared stronger than ever. As they huddled together, laughter and chatter drifting around them, Jake could feel that this was the moment they'd either rise or fall together. With Sophie and the community by his side, Jake felt a determination welling up inside him. He wouldn't let the bakery go without a fight. But as plans began to solidify, a strange anxiety twisted in his stomach. What if he wasn't ready? What if the weight of expectations crushed them? He couldn't dwell on that now. There wouldn't be time. They had to prepare. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new hurdles to jump over. But tonight, they held hope in their hands, daring to dream again. Yet, as Jake looked around, basking in the warmth of their connections, he realized that not everything was resolved. There were still pieces of his past, unfinished stories that clung to the corners of his heart. The true test had yet to come, and with Sophie's sudden reappearance, what tangled truths would resurface? With the bakery's future hanging in the balance, and echoes of old feelings flooding his mind, Jake wondered if he could really confront the ghosts of his past while building a future. Would they all discover what really lay behind those memories before it was too late? The next morning dawned with an air of urgency. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the flour-dusted countertop where Jake had spent countless hours rolling dough and kneading bread. But today was different. Today, he was not alone in this battle. As he prepared coffee, thoughts raced through his mind, plans and possibilities mingled with sharp pangs of fear. Would they really pull this off? He glanced at the half-empty calendar on the wall, only 2 short weeks remaining. The doorbell tinged cheerfully, breaking his reverie. Jake rushed to open it, and there stood Sophie, an armful of fresh flowers and a radiant smile lighting up her face. Good morning. I figured we could use some brightness, she said, her voice ringing with positivity. Jake couldn't help but smile in return, the warmth of their connection distracting him from his worries. You're right. It feels brighter already, he replied, taking the flowers and inhaling their sweet fragrance. Sophie stepped inside, scanning the nostalgic walls of the bakery, memories washing over her just like the scent of the blooming flowers. I want to dive into planning today, she announced, her enthusiasm infectious. No time to waste. Jake felt a spark ignite within him. They rolled up their sleeves and sat down with a clutter of notes, crumpled idea papers, and half-empty mugs of coffee. As they brainstormed, their laughter filled the air, echoing within the familiar walls, bringing life back to the place that had felt so hollow for too long. What about the bake-off? Sophie suggested, her pen dancing across the page. It could be a fun way to showcase everyone's favorite recipes. I can get some local celebrities to judge. Jake nodded, envisioning families competing, children giggling, and neighbors coming together to share stories and all the love that went into their baked goods. We could have a prize for the best entry too. Maybe a banner? Maplewood's best baker? Sophie's eyes twinkled with delight. That's perfect. And we'll need a stage for the live music. What if we contact the high school band? They've always had amazing talent. As ideas flowed and sparked between them, Jake felt the weight of uncertainty lighten. They weren't just planning an event, they were building hope, gathering a community longing for connection once more. He found himself leaning into her energy, feeling ignited by possibility, but then, as they sketched out the details, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of something lurking just below the surface. He had to ask. Sophie, why are you really here? Her expression shifted in an instant, the brightness dimming ever so slightly. I could say I'm here for the bakery, but it's more than that. I needed to come home, to rediscover the pieces of myself I lost along the way. This community, this bakery, it was part of my heart. And maybe it still is. Her honesty knocked the breath from him. More than the bakery, this was about them. Memories came rushing back, laughter, shared dreams, the moments that had once stitched their lives together so tightly. The vulnerability of the moment hung in the air, prompting a connection Jake had been desperately battling within himself. I'm glad you did, he finally said, his voice almost a whisper. I've felt lost too. Maybe we can find ourselves again together? Before Sophie could respond, a loud knock jolted them from their moment. The door swung open, revealing Mark and a few other community members, their faces brimming with eagerness and energy. We're here to help, Mark declared, bursting with enthusiasm. Let us get this bakery back on the map. Jake turned to Sophie, their eyes locking in a shared understanding. The bakery represented not just memories, but a chance at new beginnings, a leap back into what they both coveted but lost. As they gathered around the table filled with notes and excitement, Jake felt the burgeoning spirit change the dynamic in the room. This wasn't merely about reopening a bakery. It was about reconnecting with roots, embracing the past, and fueling a brighter future. But just as they settled into their planning, Jake's phone buzzed insistently on the table. He picked it up, scanning the text message. A name he hadn't seen in years flashed on the screen, pulling his heart into a frenzy. Jake, it's Oliver. We need to talk. With a rush of adrenaline coursing through him, Jake glanced around the room, uncertainty creeping back in. What did Oliver want? How would this affect everything they had been working towards? Moments of levity faded as he felt the ground shift beneath him. Would the past rise to drag down the hope he and Sophie had started to build? As everyone exchanged ideas, Jake realized the unraveling threads of his past could no longer be ignored. With the bakery's future hanging in the balance, would he be able to balance old wounds while nurturing something new? The atmosphere shifted in the bakery, a foreboding cloud casting shadows where light had just flourished. Jake felt the weight of the message in his hand, the name Oliver transforming his heart's rhythm into a dissonant beat. He glanced at Sophie, whose excitement was palpable, yet now it felt fragile. What's wrong? She asked, noticing the quick shift in his demeanor. Jake hesitated, the phone still gripped tightly. It's Oliver, he said, his voice faltering under the gravity of years past. He wants to talk. Sophie's expression morphed from enthusiasm to concern. Isn't he the one who? Yeah, Jake interjected, his mind reeling with memories both sweet and bitter. We had a falling out a long time ago. And honestly, I thought I was done with him. The room buzzed with ideas from Mark and the others, their voices a comforting hum. But to Jake, it felt like a distant echo, a reminder of a time when his heart had been heavy with regrets. I don't know if I can handle this right now, he confessed, the vulnerability creeping back in. Sophie's eyes softened, her familiarity standing firm against the influx of old fears. You don't have to face it alone, she said quietly, leaning closer. We're in this together, remember? Her words settled like a bomb over his jangling nerves. Yeah, you're right. He took a deep breath and set the phone down, returning his attention to the group. We should focus on the plans. But as they shifted gears back into the hustle of planning, Jake's mind spiraled, caught between the excitement of the bake-off and the impending confrontation with Oliver. The joy emanating from the others felt like a flicker of light in his mind, but he was still ensnared in thoughts of unresolved conflict, threw himself into the discussion, trying to envision the bakery bustling with activity, neighbors coming together, reigniting their community spirit. But as Sophie suggested more ideas for activities, Jake's heart thudded with an impending dread. Would his past ruin this moment, disrupting the delicate threads of hope they were weaving? Time passed with more laughter and plans, and just when they felt the momentum building, Jake's phone buzzed again, demanding his attention. A second message lit up the screen. I'm at the corner cafe. Can we meet? It's important. Glancing around, Jake caught Sophie's attentive gaze. In that moment, the laughter around him faded again, replaced by a storm of anxiety. Would meeting Oliver pull him away from this beautiful connection they were all creating? I have to go, he said abruptly, his heart racing while he stood in front of the group. I need to speak with Oliver. Mark frowned, concern etching creases across his brow. Are you sure that's a good idea? Yeah, maybe we can take a break, another voice chimed in, a hint of worry pairing with the warmth they had just created. Jake exchanged glances with Sophie, her lips pressed together as if she were weighing every possibility. Maybe it's best to face this now, she finally said, her voice both steady and soothing. We can handle this. You can handle this. With a nod, Jake made a decision. I'll be back soon. Keep brainstorming while I'm gone. He turned to her before stepping out, their eyes locking with unspoken promises and confidence. As he walked into the bright sunlight, the world felt strangely muted. The cafe loomed ahead, a familiar haunt from simpler days. He took a deep breath, every step amplifying the impending clash of emotions. Inside, Oliver sat at a corner table, fingers drumming nervously on the surface. Jake's pulse quickened. The past awaited him, and with it, everything that had been left unsaid. Would this meeting shatter what he was building or pave the way for a new beginning? The door swung shut behind him, sealing the bakery's warmth outside as he walked further into the storm of his past. What awaited him at that table? Was it a chance for closure or an unraveling of everything he loved? As Jake approached Oliver's table, a myriad of emotions twisted and turned within him: fear, resentment, uncertainty. His heart was a chaotic drum, pulsating loudly enough for even Oliver to hear, he thought. The scent of brewed coffee filled the air, mingling with the haunting memories of arguments and broken friendships that had once filled this very space. Oliver looked up as Jake drew near, his face a mix of nervous anticipation and regret. Jake, he said, rising slightly as if instinctively drawn to his old friend. Thanks for coming. Yeah, Jake replied, tension filling the word until it became a weight. He remained standing, unsure if he was ready to share the same space as Oliver again. I wasn't sure I would. An awkward silence lingered between them, the tension palpable. Oliver cleared his throat, fidgeting with the edge of a napkin. I know it's been a while. But I need to talk to you. About us. Jake's muscles tensed. What's there to say? You decided to walk away. You didn't want to be friends. I know. I messed up, Oliver said, his voice choked with sincerity. We both said things we didn't mean. But what we had, it mattered. It still does. Jake felt a rush of anger surge through him. Does it? Because it sure didn't feel that way back then. He could almost hear Sophie's gentle voice echoing in his mind, urging him to listen, to be open. But the pain of their past was an impenetrable barricade, and standing so close to Oliver felt like stepping onto a battlefield. I've changed, Oliver pressed, determination setting in his eyes. I want to make things right. Can you at least hear me out? Reluctantly, Jake sat down, feeling the weight of the moment press upon him. Okay. But don't expect me to just forgive and forget. It's not that simple. Oliver nodded, his gaze unwavering. I understand. And I'm not asking for that. Just let me explain. I didn't just walk away from you. I walked away from myself. I was scared of what we were becoming, of how real things felt. I thought I was protecting you, but I was really just being a coward. Jake's heart tugged painfully. He wanted to scream that it wasn't fair, that Oliver had left scars that still ached. Yet, somewhere deep down, he wanted to believe them both capable of healing. And now? Jake asked, his voice barely more than a whisper, betraying his vulnerability. Now, I'm here. I'm trying to rebuild. Oliver's eyes glimmered with sincerity. I've missed you, Jake. Not a day goes by when I don't regret how I treated you. Jake shifted in his seat, the enormity of the conversation crashing over him. Images of laughter, shared secrets, and dreams they once forged together flooded his mind. They'd been so young, so oblivious to the fragility of their bond. Why now? Jake snapped, half angry, half hopeful. Why reach out after all this time? Because I've seen the impact of my choices. I've watched people I care about move on without me, and it hurts more than I expected. You're building something beautiful, something worth being proud of. I want to be a part of it, if you'll let me. A flicker of hope ignited in the pit of Jake's stomach, battling against shadows of doubt. And what if it doesn't work out again? What are you willing to risk? Sitting there, Jake could sense the bakery bustling outside, the laughter of his friends blending into a symphony of community he had once cherished. But this moment was all undertones of chaos. Something worth having is worth fighting for, Oliver replied, his voice steady, echoing a deep resilience that Jake almost envied. If it means rebuilding, then I'll fight until my last breath. Jake grappled with the possibilities. Could he really let Oliver back in? Could his heart withstand such a risk again? As he contemplated, the cafe door swung open, revealing a burst of warm light and laughter, reminding him of what he had waiting for him back in the bakery. In that moment, Jake faced not only Oliver but what lay ahead, a decision that would affect not only their futures but also the community they both had known and loved. Jake took a breath, feeling the weight of time pressing on him, knowing that whatever happened next could change everything. Tell me, he began, his voice trembling with the truth he was finally ready to confront. What do you want from me? Outside, in the echoes of their past, a storm brewed on the horizon. How would he navigate this delicate balance between his heart and his ties to the community he cherished? Jake's heart thudded in his chest, each pulse laced with anxiety and anticipation. Oliver leaned in closer, and for a brief moment, it felt like they were those young kids again, lost in dreams and plans, not yet aware of the walls the world would build around them. I want, Oliver started, hesitating, the gravity of his words almost overwhelming. I want a chance to show you I'm better, that I'm different. I miss our friendship. I want to rebuild the trust we had. What if it's too late? Jake shot back, the argument rising like bile in his throat. What if all those years apart have changed things beyond repair? Oliver's eyes dropped to the table, the pain evident in his posture. I can't go back and change the past. I only know that I want to try moving forward. Together. Jake's stomach twisted. The mention of together cracked the door open to old memories, but the fear of the future slammed it shut. Emotions bubbled up, anger, confusion, longing, each vying for dominance. What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? That I'm ready to jump back into this? I want you to be honest with me, Oliver replied softly, his voice just above a whisper. Tell me how you feel. I need to know if this is even possible. Silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the clinking of coffee cups and murmurs from nearby tables. Jake ground his teeth, fuming over the burdens of the past. Memories washed over him, shared laughter, the light in Oliver's eyes when they talked about their dreams, their endless plans for the bakery. Those moments felt like a lifetime ago, but was there still a chance for new moments? Could they rebuild something real? I don't know if I can do that, Jake finally confessed, the admission leaving a bitter taste on his tongue. Everything you did, it left marks. I still feel them. Then let me prove to you that I can help heal them, Oliver said, urgency punctuating his words. It won't happen overnight, and I know I don't deserve it, but I want to try. I want you to know that I've been serious about this. Jake's throat tightened, caught between relief and fear. The world outside continued in its vibrant chaos, while he remained trapped in the stillness of their conversation. He wasn't just considering a friendship, he was contemplating tearing down walls he had erected to protect himself. With an exhale, he finally asked, what if we start slow? Just as friends? Absolutely. I'll take anything you're willing to offer, Oliver nodded fervently, hope brightening the shadows in his eyes. Just give me that chance. The warmth of expectation washed over Jake, but he couldn't shake the fear that coming back together would mean opening an old wound. And if you break my trust again? What then? Oliver looked him straight in the eyes. Then I walk away from you. No questions asked. But I'm not planning on it. Promise. A small glimmer ignited in Jake's heart, a desire surging up against the barriers he had built. But doubts continued to swirl in his mind. The haze of their past loomed large, threatening to suffocate any new beginnings. As Jake glanced out the window at the life bustling beyond, a murmur of laughter caught his attention, a stark contrast to the heaviness of his heart. It reminded him of what unguarded joy felt like, and the thought of shutting that out again felt wrong. Okay, we start slow, he finally conceded, cautiously. The words felt like a bridge, a way through the fog that clung around them. Thank you, Jake. You won't regret this, Oliver replied, relief washing over his features, but as they sat there, an invisible thread weaving them together once more, the storm on the horizon whispered a warning. Could they withstand the tumult of their past and forge a path forward together? Just then, the cafe door swung open again, letting in a gust of wind that rustled the napkins on their table, and Jake's heart raced. He turned, instinctively knowing that something was about to happen. Jake. Oliver. A familiar voice called from the entrance, pulling him from his thoughts. Jake's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the figure slipping through the door. What now? He was about to face yet another twist in this journey that could change everything once again. Jake's pulse quickened as he turned to face the voice, a mix of disbelief and anxiety gnawing at him. It was Sarah, their old friend, the one who had once played the role of mediator between him and Oliver. Her vibrant smile and enthusiasm hadn't dimmed, even after all these years. Wow. It's you too, she exclaimed, stepping closer. The surprise in her voice echoed the confusion swirling in Jake's mind. I didn't expect to see you both here together. It's been ages. Oliver shifted in his seat, his body language suddenly tense. The weight of their conversation hung heavily in the air, and Jake could feel the sadness creeping back in. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Would this derail everything they had just begun to rebuild? Yeah, ages, Jake managed to say, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Sarah's gaze flicked between them, her brow furrowing with concern. Are you guys okay? You seem different. Just working on some things, Oliver replied, his voice steady but clipped. A flicker of understanding passed between Jake and Oliver. They both knew that they had yet to dive into the deep waters of their recent past. But here was Sarah, a reminder of what their friendship used to look like, the kind of friendship that always felt comfortable and warm. Things, huh? I hope they're good things. Sarah chirped, oblivious to the tension. I've missed hanging out with you both. I thought we could have a little reunion. Before Jake could protest or explain that now wasn't the right time, Oliver spoke up. That sounds great, actually. We could all use a little fun. Jake's stomach churned. They were not in a good place. He wasn't ready to pretend everything was okay. But part of him didn't want to argue in front of Sarah. Yeah, sure, fun, Jake echoed, his voice low. Why not? Perfect. Let us grab some snacks and go to the park. Sarah beamed, oblivious to Jake's inner turmoil. She clapped her hands together. It'll be just like old times. As the three of them walked out of the cafe, Jake felt his heart heavy each step of the way. A mixture of nostalgia and dread intertwined in his mind. They moved into the warm sunlight, and for a moment, he remembered the joy they had shared, the innocence of youth, conversations that lasted until dawn, and laughter that felt like an echo of a carefree existence. But as Sarah chatted away about her new job and the things she had done over the years, Jake noticed that Oliver was quiet beside him. Jake took a sideways glance at him, reading the conflict in his expression. Oliver didn't share Sarah's enthusiasm, his eyes cast downward, locked in a battle of thoughts Jake couldn't decipher. Hey, is everything all right? Jake asked, genuinely concerned. You seem a little off. Oliver's forehead creased, and for a moment, Jake was afraid he might tiptoe back into the shadows of their past. Just thinking it's been a long time since we were all together like this, he replied carefully. Yeah, it has, Jake answered, a quiet realization dawning. They could think they were moving forward, but this moment with Sarah felt like a detour, a temporary distraction pushing their unresolved feelings into the background. As they settled onto a blanket in the park, the trees swayed gently with the breeze, laughter floated around them like confetti, and Jake couldn't shake the feeling they were trapped in a glass bubble, beautiful yet fragile. Hey, Sarah said, interrupting his thoughts. Let us do a little game. Everyone has to share the best memory they have of each other. Jake's heart sank. The weight of choosing a single memory felt impossibly heavy. He glanced at Oliver, who looked equally uncertain. As they began to share, each memory would peel back another layer of their complex relationship, unveiling joys mixed with pain. Jake took a deep breath, bracing himself to confront what lay beneath, but just as he was about to take his turn, a shout erupted nearby. Hey! Look who it is! A new voice added chaos to the moment. Jake turned and saw Charlie, an old rival from school. The laughter faded, replaced by curiosity and tension threading the air. What would happen next? Would this reunion unravel their delicate plans, or would it force them to confront the truth at last? Charlie strode over, his presence an unexpected wave crashing into their peaceful picnic. He was ecstatically loud, the kind of guy who challenged the quiet with a boisterous laugh. Jake. Oliver. Sarah. Remember those days at the bakery? All the fun we had? Jake winced. Somewhere in the back of his mind, memories of late-night escapades fueled by sugar and youthful naivety mixed with the current reality of his tangled emotions. Before he could respond, Charlie plopped down, a grin plastered across his face, oblivious to the tension simmering just beneath the surface. Wow, it's like a high school reunion. What you guys been up to? His gaze bounced between the three of them, eager for stories filled with joyful moments that seemed so far from reality. Just catching up, Jake replied coolly, stealing glances at Oliver, who seemed lost in his thoughts. Jake felt suffocated by the warmth of nostalgia but knew that their past wasn't just a fairy tale, it was layered with complexities that needed addressing. Fun. That's great. You know what would make this even better? Charlie continued, leaning in, animated. A throwback to those baking tournaments we used to have. We should totally do that. Oliver glanced sideways at Jake, his brow furrowed in uncertainty. Above all else, I think we have a lot to figure out first. Oh, come on, Charlie pushed, dismissing the tension with a wave. Life's too short. Let us just enjoy it. Jake's heart raced. Was Charlie right? Maybe it was time to embrace the laughter, to drown out the doubts threatening to swallow them whole. But Jake remembered their unresolved conflict, the shadows from his fractured friendship with Oliver. I get where you're coming from, Charlie, but we're not in the same place we were back then, Jake replied, his voice firm yet trembling. Things have changed. Sarah's eyes darted between them. She could sense the growing tension like an electric charge in the air. Okay, how about we do this? Charlie suggested, a spark igniting in his eyes. Let us each say one good thing that we appreciate about each other. Positive vibes only, right? Fine, Jake sighed, rolling his shoulders back. Something within him softened, perhaps talking could lead to healing. All right, Charlie started with a grin. I appreciate that Jake always treated me like a friend even when I got too competitive. You're a good sport. A laugh erupted from everyone, easing some of the stress that had filled the air. Jake felt lighter, the tightness in his chest began to loosen. Your turn, Sarah. With an enthusiastic smile, she began, I appreciate you, Charlie, for always being up for an adventure. You got us into some pretty memorable escapades. The laughter continued. Jake felt Oliver squeeze his leg slightly beneath the picnic blanket, a silent nudge of encouragement. With slight hesitation, he turned his attention to him. All right, Oliver. You go next. Oliver took a deep breath, the weight of their past evident in his expression. I appreciate you, Jake, for believing in the power of community. You've always fought for what matters. Jake felt warmth radiate within him. Thanks, that means a lot. Now, for you, Jake, Charlie urged, excitement bubbling. Jake hesitated, feeling the pressure swirl within him. Sharing a compliment with Oliver felt like crossing a precipice, but he couldn't ignore the truth that had been fighting for breath inside him. I appreciate you, Oliver, for always being there when it mattered even if it didn't seem that way in the past. The moment hung heavy in the air, both light and profound. Charlie cheered as the atmosphere lightened even more. But beneath the surface of lightheartedness, Jake found a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could weave their fragmented past into something new. As they continued sharing, laughter spilled into the corners of the park, filling spaces that were once occupied by silence and unresolved issues. At that moment, Jake realized that while the past weaved a complex narrative, it was the present that held the power to transform. Whatever path lay ahead, they were venturing forward together through laughter, through vulnerabilities, and even through hesitation. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm golden glow, Jake felt the shadows lifting. It was time to embrace that strange beauty, the beauty of hope itself, alive amidst the struggle. Together, they were rewriting their story, one shared laugh at a time. In the heart of Maplewood, at the old bakery's revival, their engagement transcended the sweetness of baked goods. It became a celebration of community, friendship, and love that would feed not only their nostalgia but also the power of new beginnings. None of them knew what the future truly held, but standing there, Jake took a deep breath, filling his heart with the possibility of what could be. The spirit of the bakery ignited within him, vibrant, alive and unyielding. And before they all knew it, weeks turned into momentum. Plans accelerated, and they found themselves bound by stories and laughter once more. Together, they would not only reclaim Thompson's bakery, they would reclaim their lives. Now's your time to make your mark. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss what's next. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. We can't do this without you. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below, and please share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. This is important, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.